class? Okay, so first thing, this week's weekly worksheet. If you have not already turned it in, I want you to get it out, put it in the box, put it in the tray. Now, I will say, thank you. Almost every time I do that, meaning I say, weekly worksheets are due right now. If you haven't already turned it in, turn it into the tray. Usually if I do that, I'm missing 6 to 10 papers, which is crazy. Why is that crazy? Well, and usually I'm going to pick on Sophie just because she's here in the front. She's usually not one of these. But usually if I'm like, Sophie, I need your weekly worksheet, she pulls it right out of her binder. It's completed. She just didn't bother to turn it into the tray. Okay, so Miss Schilling's getting meaner because we're in 6th grade. It's 3rd quarter. I'm going to tell you every time when it's time to turn it in if you haven't already. But when I go to grade them, I'm going to pick on Sophie again. Sorry, Sophie, you're right here in front. If I go to grade them and Sophie's isn't there, I'm putting it in as a missing assignment. I will still then go to Sophie and say, hey, do you have this? And she'll be like, yeah, it's right here in my binder. I'm trying to get you guys to be more responsible, okay? So did everybody hear that?
Yeah.
Okay. Next thing, last week's weekly worksheet. Was that review or was that new stuff?
New.
It was new stuff. And usually our weekly worksheets are over review. What I'm going to start doing between now and our IAR test is sprinkling in some of the new stuff that just we will not have time to get to it. So, statistical questions. If I would have given you that IXL skill without the video, would you have had any idea what a statistical question was? No. But just by watching, how long was the video? 4 minutes? 9 minutes. By watching a 9-minute video, do you feel like you pretty well understand statistical questions? Yes. So there are several skills, not several, a few skills like that statistical questions are like one of the very last things in our book. How often have you finished a math book? How many years? 0. No one ever gets to the end of the book, okay? So what I'm going to start doing with the weekly worksheets is there's a couple other skills like statistical questions. It's not that it's a super challenging skill, it's just we won't get to it before the end of the year. So there's 2 more that I have in my brain that I'm going to do it like I did the statistical question, where I will find 1 to 2 good videos that do a good job of teaching it and then give you IXL and possibly a Khan Academy assignment to teach you those skills. Does that make sense? Cooper.
Typically, how many of these calculators can still work without a battery?
Well, they are solar powered, so typically 100% of them, if the lights are on.
Yeah, if it's in the dark.
Okay, but right now, calculators are flat, face down on your desk. They're a tool, not a toy. Jude, it doesn't have a battery, just leave it. Okay. So let's go over statistical questions real quick, just to see if we feel like we've got it. Typically on IAR, there's 1 to 2 questions on statistical questions. If I wanted to have given you that weekly worksheet, you would have no clue, okay? But we all agreed it's really not a super challenging skill, right? So I'm going to quiz you. If Sally gave the number of trees in her front yard, how many trees are in Sally's front yard? Is that a statistical question or not, and why? Chase.
No.
Why?
Because it's just hers, it's not like an average.
Yeah, if you said, Sally, how many trees are in your front yard? She would say 4 or 2. She would give you a 1 answer number. So there's no, what word did they use a lot? There's no data points or variability. Who can give me a similar question that would be a statistical question? So my question was, how many trees are in Sally's front yard?
How many squirrels live in each tree? Like, different?
Let's add to his. How many squirrels live in each tree?
Oh. On average? Per year. Typically? Per year. Yes.
Who can finish?
Yesterday.
Not yesterday. Yesterday would be 1 data point. Let's focus on trees in yards. Let's go back. That would, you would have to be in each tree in Sally's yard to finish yours. Sadie.
How many lawns have trees in them? No.
Needs a little bit more.
I gotta go.
Nolan?
How many trees are in Addison? No, but that's one answer.
126. So how many trees in Aviston is not statistical. This is it's more challenging to come up the questions. It's easier to look at them and decide yes, no. Yeah, we're doing trees first. Trees and yards first. Dane.
What is the average amount of trees per yard? Yes.
In Aviston. That would be a good one. What is the average amount of trees per yard in Aviston? Or what is the how many trees are in each yard of Sally's subdivision? Okay, would that give you lots of different data points? Yes, okay? Each house would have its own data point. 2, 3, 5, 9, 2, 1, 0. Back here, 0, 0, 0, 0. All new houses. Okay? Who can give me another? Statistical question. Statistical question. Go ahead, Sophie.
Do you like chocolate ice cream?
Be careful, that's a yes or a no. You have to be able to answer with a number. So do you like chocolate ice cream is not statistical. It has to be a answer with a number. Carter.
What are we focusing on?
Anything. It's wide open. Anything you want.
How many squirrels are in Aviston?
Okay, so how many squirrels are in each tree in Aviston? So you could go to each tree, count the squirrels. Would you get variability and lots of data points? Yes. That'd be hard to do, but yes, we could, possibly. Jack.
How many kids are in each class in Addison Elementary?
How many kids are in each class at Aviston Elementary? Would we get lots of different data points? Yep. Harper.
How many gallons of ice cream are sold each day?
How many gallons of ice cream are sold each day? We might have to narrow it down at Trenton IGA, just to give a little more specific. Naomi.
How many inches of rainfall do we get in Aviston per year?
How many inches of rainfall do we get in Aviston per year? We would almost have to say average. Yep, you're right. Okay, so you guys get the general idea. Are you a lot more confident with statistical questions than you were 1 week ago? Yes, and all of that from a 9-minute video. See, I just grew your brain a lot in 9 minutes. Okay, now, next week's weekly worksheet. Located on your desk. I passed it out while you were taking your time test. It is review. Typically, weekly worksheets are review. I just told you I'd sprinkle in some new stuff. What are you going to be using to do your weekly worksheet this week? Khan Academy, your guys' favorite. Okay. How many assignments do you have on Khan Academy? 3. I believe it is 8 plus 5. What's 8 plus 5? 13 questions altogether. So you have 1 week to answer 13 questions. Can you use a calculator? Yes. Can you redo an assignment if you do not like your grade? Yes. Now, it did kind of print funny. So if you're looking at the front, it says more on back. When it printed the back side, it flipped it. So it's like at the sign. Yeah, it flipped it. Okay? So there's no video this week, just 3 assignments, and that is on tape diagrams. That's tape diagrams. Part, whole ratios are still tape diagrams. And then quiz, whatever number, is just like the last half. So that'll have a lot of tape diagrams, part, whole problems. Okay? So more review. Third paper on your desk says Unit 3, Lesson 1 through 9 quiz review. And everybody has one of my calculators. I want you to start using these when you're in my room. If you use your calculator at home, that's fine. But because this is the one we have to use for IAR. So I just want you to get used to using it because they're cheap, okay? They're junk. They're $1.25 each, I believe. So you have to, it's a little bit harder to push the buttons, okay? Most of the time when we miss a problem, I hear, but the calculator said, and what do I say? What do I respond to that, Jude? What do I usually? I don't. It is a tool. Who tells the tool what to do? The user. The user, okay? The calculator does not have a brain. It does what the user tells it to do. So I want us to get used to using these cheap calculators. Okay, they're called 5-function calculators because they only do 5 functions: add, subtract, multiply, divide, square roots. Okay, scientific calculators do a lot more. So when we're in here, I want you to get in the habit of just trying to use these ones so you get used to the buttons. Livy?
Why do you have to use these specifically?
Because in 6th grade, they test to see if you can do operations with fractions. And scientific calculators, like I could type in 3/7 times 2/3 and it would give me the answer. It does. If you have a scientific calculator, it does. The user just doesn't know how to do it yet. It's user error.
Wait, can we turn the lights off here?
No, they will not because they are solar powered, which means the lights have to be on.
There's no battery in the back.
Okay, so we are just going to get through number 1 on this worksheet. Let me get it pulled up real quick. And again, the title of this says it's a Unit 3, Lesson 1 through 9 quiz review. But if you look at number 1, could this problem have been in Unit 2?
Yes.
Yes, because the first half of Unit 3 is just Unit 2 review. That's why we're kind of skipping over it. So it says a car travels 55 miles per hour for 2 hours. Complete the table. To complete a table, we need at least one completed row. What is our one completed row that is given? What is our one completed row? The second row. Where did they get the information for that second row?
The question?
Yeah, the words. Why didn't they put a 2 right here? Because it says per hour. Why would some people put a 2 right here? Because the word 2 hours is up there, but you have to read all of the words carefully. Do we always read carefully? No. Okay? Who can help me get started? Who can help me get started? Harper?
You could do the half first.
Okay.
So then you do 55 divided by 2.
Okay, so let's start over here. How do we get from 1 to 1/2?
Divide by 1/2.
1 divided by 1/2 is 1/2. 1 times 1/2 is 1/2. I agree with that. Raise your hand if you would do something besides multiply by 1/2. Jude?
I do 1/2 times 4.
What?
It's the bottom one down there.
We're right here. How do we get from 1 to 1/2 is the question. Livy?
Divide it, but you could say
Divide by what?
no, it's 2.
Nate? Divide by 2. Now, the fraction 1/2. What division problem is that showing? 1 divided by 2. So really what we just wrote is 1 divided by 2 equals 1 divided by 2 in a different form. But that's why I'm having us verbalize this, because there's lots of misunderstandings. Pretty soon I'm going to call those Chelseas. You will understand that before you leave today. But Harper was also correct. We could have also multiplied by 1/2 because it's 1 times 1/2 1/2. Dividing by 2 is the same thing as multiplying by its reciprocal. What's the reciprocal of 2? 1/2. So dividing by 2, multiplying by 1/2 is the same thing. Let's go ahead and do this side. In your calculator, because you're getting to use one. 55 divided by 2. Ethan, what does it give us? 27.5. Okay, then this table has a third column, and it says miles per hour. What does that mean? Miles per hour. Nate?
That's how fast you travel per hour.
Yeah, that's how fast they go in 1 hour. If I needed a math problem, what math problem does miles per hour tell me to do? Jack?
Miles divided by hour.
Miles divided by hours. I want you to write that out here. Miles per hour is really just telling you to take miles divided by hours. I'm going to write the fraction bar, but then next to it I'm going to put a division sign, so we remember that means divide. So what would be our division problem to find miles per hour for that first row? Okay, so 27.5, I agree with that. What was our hours? 1/2. Can you type fractions into our 5-function calculator? So it would be beneficial to know that 1/2 is the same thing as?
30 minutes.
We don't want to change it to minutes. I agree, it is 30 minutes. 0.5. Can you type decimals into a 5-function calculator? Yes. Everybody type that in. I don't want you to shout out the answer. So you're writing it in the third column, and then you're typing it in. Sophia, what'd you come up with? 55. Why are those two numbers the same?
Because you're dividing it by 1.
Because this table is a table of what? What are each of those rows?
What?
The rows are not columns, those are opposites. How do we know how to create those? Why can we divide by 2, divide by 2?
Because it's the same.
Because they are, it starts with an E. Equivalent ratios. With equivalent ratios. What is this third column representing in terms of these equivalent ratios? If it's miles per hour. It is how much they go per hour, but what do we call that, Jack? The answer is 55 miles per hour. What do we call that in these problems? They are equivalent ratios, but the 55 miles per hour. Unit rate. There we go, Haley. Next one. Stella, which one you want to do next? 1 and 1/2? Okay. Which one do you want to build off of? You want to build up 1/2? Why?
No, 1.
Okay. Why do I suggest? Who thinks they can raise their hand and tell me why do I suggest we build off this? We could build off either one of them. But I'm saying if you can build off this one, I highly suggest it instead of building off the top one. Who thinks they know why? Nolan? Okay, because you can always build up one. That's one good reason. Livy, why else?
Because it's easiest when you have both of them, so you can just add them together because you already have multiplying.
Okay, so she's looking at it a different way. She's saying if that's 1/2 and this is 1, together they would be 1 1/2. Is she correct? She is. This line, the second line was given. Was the first line given? No. Sometimes do we make goofy mistakes? Yes. So if you can build off of given information instead of information that you had to come up with, I suggest you build off of the given information because we know it is correct. Okay? Sometimes that's not possible. Sometimes we have to build up the other ones. So we're going to check Livy's theory first. She said 1/2 plus 1 is 1 1/2. So should I be able to add 27.5 plus 55? Okay, add that out to the side or with your calculator because you have one. Jalen, tell me what you get when you get there. 27.5 plus 55. Are you looking for the decimal point? It's down by 0.
No, the plus is the blue one. Yeah, I know. I couldn't find the plus.
Oh.
Okay, 82.5.
What's the m plus n minus n?
You don't need those. How else could we have gotten there if I didn't notice that 1/2 plus 1 is 1.5. So I didn't notice that I could just add 27.5 plus 55. How else could I have gotten to that point? Ethan, how else could I have gotten there? Look back at our orange arrow right here. I'm looking for this. How can I figure that out? How do we get from 1 to 1 1/2? Can we add on tables to get from one row to another? So we have to multiply or divide to go from 1 to 1 1/2. Okay, we can multiply by what? 1 times what equals 1 1/2? 1 1/2. Now, when you go to try and type in 55 times 1 1/2, why is that challenging? We have a 5-function calculator and we can't type in 1/2, so it'd be beneficial to know the decimal form of 1 1/2. 1.5. Type in 55 times 1.5. Did we get the same answer?
Yes.
Yes. Who can tell me what we're going to write out here in the third column for this one? That's an answer. I need the problem. Reese, what are we going to write? What math problem do I write in that third column? We're doing miles divided by hours. So in my third column, what are my miles? Third row, sorry, third row. Third row. 82.5 divided by hours, but I want them in the same form. So if we had a decimal, I need a decimal. So what is 1 1/2 as a decimal? Reese. In your calculators, type in 82.5 divided by 1.5. Stella. 82.5 divided by 1.5 is 82.5.
55.
Hold on. Hey guys, you're doing lots of extra talking today and we need to knock it off. Now, when you type something into a calculator, turn on your common sense brain for a second. 82.5 divided by 1.5 cannot equal 82.5. I already know what mistake Stella did. Stella, what mistake did you make when you were typing that into? Yes, she typed in 82.5 divided by 1 and got 82.5. But then when I said no, she said, well, that's what the calculator said. Does the calculator have a brain? No. Especially with these 5-function calculators, my suggestion, type it in twice just to make sure every button registered. Or pay attention while you're typing it and make sure you see the stuff appear on the screen. Naomi, what'd you get? 55, because the unit rate of all of these should be the same because they are all equivalent ratios. So if we get it to 1 hour, they should all be the same. Cooper, how can we find the last one? Which of those numbers would be easiest to get to 110? So we're looking at this column. Who can answer that? Go ahead.
55.
55. How do we get from 55 to 110?
Times 2.
Times 2. So I have to take 1 times 2, which is? 2. What's going to go under my miles per hour? Ethan, what's my math problem that's going to go under miles per hour? What'd you say? Nope. Miles per hour. Miles divided by hours. Sadie. 110 divided by 2. I feel like I'm talking to a room full of Chelseas, and then you'll know what that means in about 3 minutes.
They were talking about that recently.
Okay, so again, that shouldn't be new. Okay, we struggled with that one problem a little bit. for today, we are not going to finish any more of this. I only wanted to get through that one problem because I wanted to spend a lot of time on that problem. What I'm going to show you now is a video. Okay? A lot of times with these, you guys turn off your common sense brain while you're working. Okay? When you're working math problems, you need two brains going at the same time. You need your math brain and your common sense brain to kick in and think, does that make sense? Okay, and that's where we struggle sometimes. So I have a video for you to kind of round out the end of class. Just leave these papers out because I'm going to have you write your answer, your guess at the bottom in just a second. Okay? Let me stop all this.
Chelsea or